We're friggin' nobodies. We're Jacob and Noel. We're friggin' nobodies. Welcome to our show. We're friggin' nobodies. We don't know much. We're friggin' nobodies. We're old and out of touch.
Hey, hi.
Hi. Oh, yeah. Good day. We're Friggin' Nobodies.
He's
Friggin'
Jacob.
Nobodies.
I'm Noel.
Yeah.
And what are we going to talk about today?
We are not talking about Israel and Palestine.
Okay, good, because I did not want to talk about Israel, Palestine.
That's exactly what we're going to do. Let's move this mic, make some bad
Luckily,
noises.
I've written up a small essay type thing here on not talking about Palestine.
Myself as well. You'll have to get your phone to time me because I need my phone to read. I can't print still.
You know what? We're close enough. This is going to be way under 5.
There will be time on there, too. You can see.
Yeah, okay. Well,
When it says, whatever it says there, plus 5 minutes, that's when you know
I
I'm
don't have
gone
my
over.
glasses on, so I won't be able to see.
Okay.
All right. So,
Ready?
This week on Friggin' Nobodies, we are not going to talk about Israel-Palestine, and I'm going to not talk about it first.
Oh, okay, sure.
Unless you want to not
no,
talk
no,
about
you
it first.
go ahead. Don't talk
Well,
about
mine
it.
will be done quick. 'Cause
Don't
I didn't
talk
write
away.
much. All right. I am not talking about it. So, as a general disclaimer, I've been half-assing pretty much everything in my life for as long as I can remember. There are some important exceptions having to do with friends and family and my own mental well-being, but I've mainly been floating, and it's served me well. The discussion about what's going down in the Middle East is no place for floaters. Best case scenario, should I choose to weigh in with my spur-of-the-moment notions, is I encounter another slacker and we come to an ill-informed opinion and go our separate ways. But more likely, I'll be tasked with choosing a side in the morality of the situation, and I don't have the inclination to cast that judgment. Better minds than mine have been hammering at that knot for decades, and we get to watch the results now in real time. Doesn't look great. So I don't think I'm going to be able to offer much in the way of great advice. So personally, I have in the past done some questionable and downright stupid things. Hell, I've done some thoughtlessly cruel things as well, just like everyone else. I try to turn those failings into amusing stories, both to deal with the shame of what I've done by airing out my guilt, and to make those around me laugh at my foolishness. I suppose these stories might act as a lesson in what not to do in a similar situation. The point is, I've heard my stories told by other friends, and it's horrible, because they're telling the stories solely to amuse. So the emotional nuance is dropped in favor of relating the events as they happened. Events that I was ashamed of committing. My friends didn't do anything wrong, so there's no need to justify the actions or explain the thought process involved. It makes me sound like a monster, and not a single one of my screw-ups ended up with somebody getting murdered. So
That's right.
Yeah. So how am I supposed to possibly comprehend all of those stories coming out of the Middle East? I can't. I get a relation of facts and everybody looks like monsters. So if I can't understand it, then how the hell am I expected to take a moral position? In good conscience, I can't. Hell, there's Ukraine, Armenia, Syria, Myanmar, the cartels in South America, and I don't really have a good handle on any of those conflicts either. There's a good chance I don't want to talk about them either.
We could do episodes on that.
You or not. The long and the short of the matter is, I don't want to talk about Israel-Palestine because I have no interest in advocating for the killing of folks whose stories I don't know. And this fight involves a whole heap of killing, no matter whose side you're on. Nor does it do a hell of a lot of good to lean back and smugly say, they should stop fighting. War is bad.
War is bad.
It's not going to help anything. If I don't have the commitment to travel into the midst of the bloodshed to broker for peace, then I figure the best I can do is keep my mouth shut and not add any more fuel to the fire, because talking about the damn thing ain't going to make it any better. And giving money to either side, well, it sure ain't going toward getting rid of the bullets or the bombs. Now that I'm an old man, I've managed to get a handle on most of the big problems in my own life and the lives of the people important to me. I wish I could say my important folk numbered more than a couple dozen, but I can't. My community is small, as is my influence. Within that community, I'll be as good a man as I'm able and take responsibility for my action or inaction. I'll try to be a better soul to those folk who surround me. That is something I can do, and doing is much more important than talking if you're fixing to make things better. So let's not talk about Israel-Palestine.
Let's go do Israel-Palestine?
No.
Okay, very good. That's not the direction I was expecting necessarily, but I liked it.
No, we can fight it. We can solve this problem later.
Oh, we'll solve it. We solve everything. Okay, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. So I'm just
All right,
gonna look
here
at
we
it.
go.
Okay. Yeah, you're set.
All right, why I'm not talking about, or how I'm not going to talk about Israel and Palestine. Okay, and it's not that I don't care. I mean, I don't, but that's not all of it. I suppose most people are familiar with the concept of the Dunbar number, this idea that you can have about 150 close friends before the relationships become essentially meaningless, that our brain capacity is limited by our biology in some way. I think later on, researchers increased that number to 520 and basically said the whole thing was meaningless and based on flimsy data. But the basic concept still interests me. You know, if a family member or a close friend dies, I'll be a mess. But if a stranger dies and I read about it in the paper, nothing. I may even crack a joke about it or be coldly analytical. Hell, as kids, we cracked jokes about the Challenger the day it happened. Why would I be hardwired to behave any different? Clearly, thousands of horrible things happen every day, more than I can keep count of. And I just checked Google when I was writing this, and it tells me there are 110 conflicts happening at that moment. Now, if I were to be appropriately emotional about each one of them, each death, as if it was a loved one or a neighbor, I'd be a mess. I couldn't function. I just don't feel that we are designed to reach that far beyond our grasp. These fancy tech toys make us think that everything is happening here and now, as if we are part of it all, as if we are responsible citizens of the globe and we must opine on each issue, picking the righteous side and proclaiming our righteousness for all to hear. But to me, it's just noise. There's a plethora of issues brought up by the dozens of 24-hour news stations and citizens running to social media to broadcast their beliefs. It's tiring. Morality becomes fashion, style, vacant of any real action, empty protests and slogans. Excuse me. Now, hell, some people seem to know more about what's going on a world away than they do about their own communities. If I go onto social media and I scream "Free Palestine" or proclaim that Israel has a right to defend itself or whichever slogan people seem to like, maybe they won't listen to a song I wrote or take my recommendation to listen to Beethoven's 16-string quartet. Or who knows what they might not listen to anymore. I wouldn't return the favor, I don't think. I don't consciously care if X actor or musician or whoever has a different take than I do on some foreign political event. But others do. And I become increasingly different to them, and maybe even to myself. I see no use in that. I see no good coming from it. Now, I may discuss a bunch of things offline that I never would online. I may have opinions and talk about these things. But I'm not a voice in that way, and I don't want to be. I'd rather write songs and jokes and stories and talk about vague ideas and abstracts. I aim at the more universal. Ultimately, I actually think that is more important. I'm not sure what the political situation was when Shakespeare was writing, or when Homer told his stories, or when Beethoven composed. And when I do become aware of these types of things, it's generally thanks to that artist, because I'm interested now and reading about that period to enhance my appreciation of the art. But the art comes first, see? Everyone knows Romeo and Juliet, but they have to pause to recall the politics. And you know, I don't even want to vote anymore, really. This is kind of a new thing for me. But I'm sick of voting, and I hate that cheap bully tactic about how I can't complain if I don't vote. Bullshit.
What's going on in some other terrible place?
I can always complain.
Yeah.
Believe me, that won't be an issue. And while you might say, sure, but no one will listen. No one listens anyway. And I don't see why I'd decide to take someone's opinion seriously or not based on whether or not they voted.
It's true. You can't complain. I've seen it.
The idea itself can stand on its own. I'm not going to ignore it because the person whose mouth it came out of didn't vote in the last election. The idea doesn't belong to any one person. And incidentally, I've never voted for a winning party. Not once. And that's by design. I don't want that crap hanging over my head. The only way I was ever able to stomach voting was to pick some small party that could never win. Find an issue or two where I agree with them and hope that by voting for them, the small recognition they get might impact the policies and conversations of larger parties. That's not even feeling right to me anymore. It's feeling like a waste of my time. If I could write a crappy song no one will listen to, and I can, believe me, that's a way better use of my time for me and for everyone else. You don't get a heavyweight champ without hundreds of nobodies who just hell help add up the win columns for the big names, the journeymen no one ever knows. You need them. There's no sport if it's just the champ and some top contenders. So I plug away. Who knows? I might get a Sunday punch in one day and have a real shot. So I'm not going to waste my time becoming educated about Israel and Palestine to have an opinion worth hearing. And I won't be bullied into pretending that I have to. There's mediocre songs that need to be written, and I'm just the guy to do it.
I'll be there to help. You came in at slightly over 5.
Oh, did I? I thought I might.
That's fine.
I
I was slightly under. We got 10 minutes between the two of us.
Anyways, we are sponsored this week by a, contrary to our personal stance, very politically motivated war film.
Hypercharged. It's emotional.
Roll the clip, guys. Bad war. War is bad. War is bad.
War is bad. When I think about it, I don't feel bad. Matter of fact, it makes me mad.
We gotta get to the top of the map by nightfall. We can't do it. There's no way.
We have no choice.
We can't do it. Tell you what.
Then what?
The war is bad. When I think about it, I don't feel bad. Matter of fact, it makes me mad. Tabernacle, where is my dad? Tabernacle, the war, she's bad. When I think about it, I don't feel bad. Matter of fact, it makes me mad.
You died! Fuck, you died! You died! Fuck, you died! Fuck, you died!
Okay, so what else do I not have to say about it?
Oh, I've got a bunch of things to not talk about Israel.
They blocked a bridge. They blocked a bridge here in Vancouver. Like
Israel?
14 people or 24 people or something like that.
Blocking a bridge. They knocked one down in Baltimore.
I think they were the pro-Palestine ones.
You didn't like that?
Sorry?
They knocked a bridge down in Baltimore, buddy.
I don't get the reference. Am I
No.
out of touch?
No, yeah, I think you might be. There was a cargo ship that had a power outage, lost control, and I don't think you're allowed to have a pilot for these big ships.
Mm-hmm.
It's all remote control. And so when the power went out, it kept drifting. The power came back on, and it tried to resume its control, and turned, and the power went out, and the backup generator came on, and it hit the piling on a bridge and took the whole thing down.
Oh, but it wasn't a protest.
No.
It's just
no.
AI gone haywire.
My joke was they took that bridge down with a protest. But yeah, it shut down one of the major seaports in America on the East Coast. Yeah.
Well, impressive.
They've already turned it into conspiracy theory. It's great stuff.
Maybe
Great
it is.
stuff.
Maybe it is one. Who knows?
It could be Palestine.
I'm not. I'm not against.
I'm not saying it is.
Not against conspiracy theories necessarily.
Also,
they've brought me a lot of joy over the course of my life.
in your write up, on the topic of voting for parties that no longer that have no power
And no chance of winning. Yeah.
They shut down the Less Work Party.
Oh, no way. I
know
voted
it's
for them.
I know. Sarah did as well.
They definitely weren't going to win. It was a pretty good bet.
The Yogic Flyers, I think they shut down when Doug Henning died.
Well, they can come and go because the Rhinoceros Party has gone and come back and gone and come back.
I don't think the Yogic Flyers are coming back. I think Doug Henning pretty much drove that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
They were going to they'd sit in the lotus position, and then you'd just sort of jump up, and then eventually you'd hover, and you could fly in this yogic position. And then
I remember them. Yeah.
They were going to get enough of those people together. It was going to make the world a better place.
Yeah, it was good. It might have worked.
Yeah, Doug Henning showed up.
They never got the vote. You know, it's kind of bitter of them to not do it simply because they didn't get the vote. You may as well just do it anyways.
If you've got the power, why are you holding it back based on a political?
We're going to save the world, but only if you all vote for us to do it.
Unless we're the majority party, we're not going to do nothing.
That is really, really sad. But yeah, they shut down a bridge here. A few people went out and protested. because they're that type, I suppose. But what's kind of funny is I've noticed that it's kind of split the left and the right. There's people on the right who were expected to be pro-Israel but are now pro-Palestine, and people on the left who are doing the same, who are expected to be pro-Palestine but are pro-Israel. And so the earlier divides that we've had over other issues, recently trans was a big one that divided left and right. And now
DEI is a big one in the States now.
DEI, that divided them, but divided them into neat chunks. There wasn't a lot of crossover.
No, it's so
it was
messy.
pretty clean. But this one is like they're retribalizing even further out, which of course is going to happen.
Yeah, and it's such a mess. Like I said, both people are...
That guy set himself on fire. That was pretty awesome.
We're not talking about this, remember?
No, we're not talking about it.
I know.
Just because I mentioned that people blocked a bridge or a
I'm
dude
talking
set
about an
himself on
entirely
fire.
different situation that has nothing to do with Israel.
I think people
Palestine.
have scared Jews at some of their synagogues and whatnot, stood outside. And
What I don't like about it is there's a lot of killing on both sides. So to pick a side means I'm kind of advocating it. And to say that, if I can find whatever criteria that I need in that situation to go, you know what? They did this, and that, in my opinion, is worse than this. Therefore, these guys are the good guys. I don't want to be put in that position. It can be assholes all the way down.
Yeah. So people are going to say, because everybody loves to go to Nazi right away, and be like, "Oh, would you have done that in 1939, or would you have done that?" Just like, "Oh, wash my hands because it's the Pontius Pilate cop out."
Yeah.
Wash my hands of the whole thing.
Well, Pontius Pilate was there.
He wasn't there, but
No. He was there for the whole situation
There,
that he
there.
washed his hands of. And, I'm not in Nazi Germany. It's not my community. So for me to say, you know what? I do have a morally righteous opinion on all of this stuff going down, and I need the world to know about it. That's crazy. Like, I don't have an impact other than to shout my opinion. And that's going to get you hurt.
Yeah, I have no impact either.
With hard opinions.
It takes a lot of energy to become educated enough to be able to talk on something like
There's
this.
so much, yeah.
I've listened to people who are pretty dumb talk about it and mention a whole bunch of things I don't know.
Yeah.
And I've thought, the work I would have to put into this to do it properly.
Yeah. And like I said, there's been some really friggin' smart people
I can barely
that have
keep
tackled this.
things together in my own house. I mean, if I were to turn this camera around, you'd see what a mess this goddamn place is. I got to
It's
clean
true.
this up.
Pretty disgusting. I would help, but I mainly helped make the mess. I don't know if I want to help clean it up.
You're also busy too.
Yeah, well, not as busy as you, I don't think. I try to go out of my way to make my life less busy, because more busy means that I have less time to do nothing, and it does mean a lot to me doing nothing.
So if it's not a war, but it's a genocide, like some people say, is that a bully tactic, or is it true, or is it carried down the line of, I can't be bothered to care about this because I can't have any positive impact anyway. So why bother? If I can have positive impact here, and this hurts my chances of having positive impact here, only to have questionable impact in this new field,
If anything,
why even bother?
I don't know. The risk reward socially and culturally to have a hard opinion and vocalize it here in North America.
Now, this is if the people who say it's a genocide
And I'm
are
not talking
correct.
about Israel Palestine.
Yeah.
I'm talking about any of the other wars that are going on.
The other
that I also don't know.
119.
I don't know anything about. I pick my cause. It becomes completely subjective that it's important to me. I don't have a vested interest in it.
Yeah, I don't. I think often of that Patrice O'Neill thing with the tsunami and natural disasters in general. I remember when the towers fell.
Which ones?
The Twin Towers.
Oh, I
New
forgot
York.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you
I was
called
told
me.
not to, but I did. I forgot it anyway.
You son of a bitch. But
Did you want a beer?
I need one soon. Yeah, may as well take it now.
Do you want a bodily kind?
Sure. Yeah, I'll have a bottle. Yeah, that's nice.
There's a bodily for you.
Thanks. You called me the moment it happened. I was at work, and you were at the Richmond site, and I was at the Heather Street site. And you called me and said, Jacob, the towers came down. And I said, towers? What? You said the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center. I was like, yeah, it's not any clearer. And he said, there are these big towers in New York. You've seen them before. And I was like, okay. And he said, they said, you told me that they thought it was a terrorist attack or something along those lines. And I said, well, you screw around on other people's affairs long enough, something like that's bound to happen, I guess.
I heard
I said it, and then later on, when I saw people talking about it on the news and whatnot, I thought, "Ooh, it's pretty heartless the way I said that."
Yeah.
but it's just me talking to one guy. I wasn't projecting it over the whole world, of course.
Until now.
I haven't doing it now. But this is 14 years later or 13 years later. Ooh, that's an unlucky
23.
number. 23. You're
it's-
right.
it's-
Yeah,
I know.
Jiminy Cricket. We're old.
Yeah.
Friggin' nobodies. So
I remember the first thought that went through my head when I saw it, or did I hear it on the news or see it on the TV? I think I heard it on the news, on the CBC, was, oh God, somebody's going to get their ass kicked over this. Because they did it to America. It was the first thought that went through my head.
yeah. Well, that's fair enough.
I also heard someone opine today in a podcast.
Not that we don't get this cushy life without having America as
Yeah,
our neighbor, but
without a doubt.
whatever.
Yeah, it's cozy under the dragon's wing until it farts, you know. But I heard someone come out with the opinion that, you know, once all of the furor and the fear and the anger and the frustration over... Cheers.
Thanks for the beer.
My pleasure. Over the 9/11 attack dies down, people are probably going to come out and say Osama bin Laden was one of the best strategists of the modern generation.
Maybe like a Rommel type figure.
Yeah, like the damage he did and the shit that he got away with. He would be the Carlos the Jackal.
I remember maybe
excuse
10
me.
years after it happened, 8 years after it happened, I don't know, watching on CBC this kind of sympathetic documentary about him. That was like, it worked on me. And by the end of it, I was like, well, I didn't seem like such a
Yeah,
bad
good
guy.
Let's have some beers. Except
Well,
for-
it's the way the CBC framed it. I was sucker for their narrative. I mean, I cry in telephone commercials back in the day. So yeah, you know, it's not a big deal. I got suckered in the moment. Then afterwards, with cold, you know, reality hitting
Yeah.
me, I was like, oh, what the fuck do I care
Hey,
about that guy?
He didn't murder 3,000 people. He all Charles Manson, like he got someone else to do the work.
It was just the way they framed it. Yeah, so there's going to be anger. And I guess that's part of what this is all about, is anger at America through Israel, because they're called a puppet state and they fund the war and all this kind of thing. But still, I don't care. And I go back to that Patrice O'Neill thing. It relates to the Dunbar thing I talked about too, is that it's really hard for me to have concern for... the numbers are so big. The idea is
And
so
they're
big.
distant.
It's far away from me. It's a large number of people. I don't have any relationship to it.
No.
It's almost instantly abstracted. And I think sometimes getting our information from far away is kind of dangerous for the way that we process emotions.
Well, it can't be emotional. I don't know if that's dangerous, but if I'm reading it in the paper, it's as good as any other story, whether it's Ukraine, Russia, because I don't
Yeah.
have ties to either country, personally
When
or
you-
in my family. Same with Israel, Palestine. And there will people will tell you, you know, it'll boil over if you let it go, like the Nazis. They're going to take over everything.
Right.
But that would be something visceral. If there was a massive world war and one country's wiping everyone out, that's something you kind of have to step up for. But this is very localized compared to wars. It's horrible, just like all wars. Turns out wars are pretty bad.
Wars are pretty bad.
Yeah. Shout out to their sponsor. Not even a sponsor, eh? I was thinking about this.
Do we sponsor them? I can never tell.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we're promoters. I think that might be better because we're bringing these films to light that no one
Yeah, we're giving them attention.
Yes, that's
with
right.
our wide audience.
that they deserve.
It's about the attention they deserve. Actually, it's about that much.
That's why I said it.
Less than 100 views or something. I think that's right on the button. That's probably all they really are worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that we have anything to do with this. It's completely independent filmmaker.
And these are old conflicts. You know, you could say this particular conflict goes back to England annexing the state, or you could say it
saw
goes
that
back to early
Putin
Zionism in the
argument, right?
1890s, or you could say it goes back to the 7th century.
the Putin debate that
people
with,
have a million
Tucker
points.
Carlson,
Yeah. I
where
saw it.
Putin said, you know, if you
It
go
wasn't a
back far-
debate.
well, whatever, it was a lecture, but if you go back far enough, it was actually territory that Russia had.
Yeah.
Wow,
No.
great.
He pretends there was no such thing as Ukrainians until the 20th century.
Yeah, so that's a good reason to do what you're doing.
Well, there's some technicalities he's relying on for what he's saying to be true, but it's also, you know, he plays with propaganda just like any good leader of that type will. Of course, he's going to take the opportunity to talk to Americans and turn them against their own state, just like Americans would do the same to them. And
I don't think America would do that, though. That's hard to do seriously.
And like, we're peons. Why would I give a shit? Because like, the thing is like, I might always just be a failed version of that sort of thing, but I don't give a shit. I'd rather be a failed version of that than the other thing I could be aiming for. And that's, you don't really remember those guys as much as you think you do. Because when we look back, we know the Homers and the Shakespeares and the Beethovens, but I don't know there's Alexander the Greats and stuff like that. Is that comparable? I suppose.
No, it's not comparable because Alexander the Great is a name you know because he conquered most of the known world. Same with Genghis Khan and Napoleon.
Genghis.
Chinggis?
I heard it was Genghis.
Whatever.
Doesn't matter.
You know them because they conquered most of the world.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't think America has. I don't think Israel has.
Culturally, I suppose, is the argument people would make.
No, maybe. Maybe on a religious level.
But
I mean, half the Bible is
about America.
Well, according to America, the whole Bible's about America, and God's on their side.
At least the Mormon version, anyways.
Mormons.
Yeah, well, it's the manifest destiny as applied to Christianity, as far as I can tell. But
Damn Joe Smith.
But Joe's a good name.
Yeah, Joseph Smith, not a good guy.
No, I'm not going to be sitting around judging Joseph Smith. I don't give a shit about Joseph Smith.
I can judge one of his actions. When the debt collectors came for him, when he was in his hotel room,
Sure.
because he had a lot of debts, because he's run a lot of scams while he was a prophet. He saw them coming and immediately opened fire on them from his hotel room.
Well, okay.
And they sort of had to get, they didn't have their guns out. He just opened fire on them because he knew what was coming and then fled out and broke his leg. Like he jumped out the window and broke his leg falling down, and then they caught him. Opening fire is a pretty crappy thing to do when nobody's got their weapons out.
Where do you get your information from?
I read it somewhere.
Yeah, so did I.
No, sorry. I take that back. 2 angels came down. And they gave me a rock.
I read
and I have these golden tablets, right?
plates that said Noel was going to lie about Joseph Smith in 2020.
Prove them. And where's that magic rock that those angels gave you?
And they took it away.
Oh, jeez. Well, I guess there's no debating that. Stupid Joe Smith.
But America's a big power, and they have a huge amount of influence in the world, and maybe they exert it through Israel to some degree, and maybe Putin exerts some of his through Palestine in some way.
No,
it's possible.
Major powers have been screwing with one another through
Maybe
countries
this is
they both took a shot at Afghanistan.
I know for sure Putin's real happy about that war.
Yeah.
He loves that it takes attention off him. He loves that it makes more and more people question America's
dedication to Israel,
but also their moral relevance as a superpower.
Yeah, because I know that America and Russia both were messing around in Afghanistan.
Yeah, they're all dicks.
That's how we got Rambo 3.
But they're dicks at a level that I'm not even comfortable judging. You know, I'm so small in comparison. What would I do in their shoes? Like if I had lived those lives or had those experiences,
you're never getting into
what kind of
those
person would I be?
I had this discussion.
I don't know. I've never had. You know the Norm Macdonald joke about Tiger Woods. And he had sex with 50 or 60 women, but he had a million chances, so it's 0.0000006%, which makes him very faithful. It's kind of like that to me in a way. You know, I've never had any of those opportunities or any of that kind of a life. I don't know how I would behave in that situation. It's so far beyond my judgment call.
So my daughter
and my skills, my whole life, I worked on being a crappy poet and playing guitar and stuff like that, and being a creative person. For the last second now to suddenly turn that and apply them to something I'd never really worked at, it seems like a monumental waste.
Well, you'd also be terrible at it. But my daughter, who's got into some leadership mini school, because she's hyper focused and organized, was talking to her drum teacher while I was standing there next to the two of them, and she told him, you know, one day I think I'm going to be prime minister. And she turned to me and said, "You'll be really proud, won't you?" And I said, "I don't know if I will." She said, "Well, why not?" And I said, "Because you don't get to be prime minister and a good person. Like the whole system is set to weed out the people who have morals that will conflict with the party. If you're not going to toe the party line and make compromises everywhere as a politician, you don't get to be the prime minister."
Well, to play avocado there on toast, isn't it possible that the person who's a moral absolutist is not necessarily good, and the person who has flexibility to live with others who might believe differently than them and make compromises, that might be a good quality?
Nobody I've ever spoken to says, the thing that I like about the political parties is their differences are mainly moral. They're not moral differences.
I'm having a hard time thinking of anything good people said about
Yeah, they're political party.
parties.
You don't get to be high up in a political party and a good person.
You might be right. I don't know for sure. I'm less
I
willing
think
to
the
judge.
system is there.
This goes back to the landlord conversation we've had in the past too. I'm not as comfortable.
We're not going to talk about that today.
I'm not comfortable judging to the same degree you are. I'm even more of a coward.
No, you have more discretion. How's that? I was thinking about using coward a lot in mine, but I thought, no, it's discretion. It's not cowardice.
I leave room for politicians to potentially be good people.
No, I do as well. But I don't.
Like
think
I say, it's so far above me. I don't know if I
don't think
feel
the
right
political
judging
system is set up to allow people to run through unscathed or unchanged by that.
I
system.
do think this, and this goes back because we're going to step a little over, but maybe a couple minutes. But nonetheless,
Lord. Yeah,
the whole stay local thing, right? That we've talked about in all the episodes so far. I do think that if you focus on the best you can do in your community with your local environment, the chances of the people within that community being better people are higher. The chances of you having representation through the systems with people who are of higher moral fiber than we have now, maybe not good or bad, I don't know about those types of words, but higher moral fiber nonetheless, would be higher because you're focusing on the community, which is a better community, and so the people coming out of it, because the politicians and the systems we have, they just represent who we are. We're the ones who accept them. We're the ones who vote them in. They come from our communities. They go to our schools.
Yes.
Maybe they have private schools, but it's all still part of our culture.
Maybe they have private schools. Maybe they have big donors that are not people.
They may, but it's still all part of our culture. Like this is what we're all a part of. We produce, we get the society we deserve, and these people are coming out of our culture. So if we focus on the local, it's the best I can do for Israel Palestine is focusing on what's going on here and making it the best I can.
Well, I tried to.
We are over, so go ahead.
I tried to write this a couple times. We're not because we have that 2 minutes of dead air, but
it's not 2 minutes. But yeah, go ahead.
This is what's a bonus time in soccer. I tried to write this a couple times that I want more people like me in the world who just want to make the small area around them better and aren't going to go messing around too much in strangers' lives.
Yes.
I want that.
Okay, that extent of you, sure.
Yes. There's definitely parts of me I don't want people to have. A lot I don't want them to have it.
I prefer you with all your parts.
Yeah.
Anyone else needs them.
There's a good chance if I lived with me, I'd kill me. But regardless, I do like the notion that I don't want to mess with strangers.
Yes.
And I just want to make the people's lives close to me better or easier.
Yes.
And I want more people like that in the world.
Did we not solve this?
I think we solved it.
I don't see a way out of us not solving this.
So, war is bad.
War is bad.
Be useful and competent.
But it's made for some great movies.
And make your community a bit of a better place.
Stories in general, really.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I feel the same way about religion.
Hey.
I do.
I like religion, by the way.
I do as well. I just don't believe in it. I don't believe in war either, unlike you, warmonger.
I believe in both. Build a
All right,
wall.
so that should have solved everything entirely, 100%. So go out there and don't mess with strangers and
build a wall.
And build a wall.
Build the damn wall.
Yeah, lots of walls.
See you down the trails.